Well, good morning and welcome to our very first 2023 episode of Coffee with Cowboy. We are sitting here with none other than 2022 PBR World Champion Daylon Swearingen. We're very excited to have him with us on our Coffee with Cowboy. Daylon, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
Good to have you, Dave. Appreciate you coming.
Well, right off the bat, I think even for our viewers, the obvious question is, how does it feel to be a world champion bull rider? But so I don't want to start off with that. I think we know what, not exactly how you feel, but I'm sure you feel pretty good. My question would be, what drives you in bull riding, your bull riding career? Because especially you have won it, the world championship at a young age. So what drives you after that to still wake up every day and continue to pursue it?
Yeah, I think it's just probably being a better version of myself than I was like today. I want to be better tomorrow, and I've always just tried to just keep growing in every aspect of my life, and just taking stepping stones at a time. So just keep working for the next one, and the other things that world champion helped me to get, like, helps me, just in my future, and
Yeah. Well, so would you say, bull riding in particular helps more so than anything else that you do? Or I know you live on a ranch, you do ranching.
Yeah.
By the way, Daylon has helped us already this morning. We're already done feeding. Are you for hire? Because I know you got a pretty good bull riding career, but if you're for hire, we'd like to talk to you. But anyway, no, thank you for riding along with us and helping us. But tell us kind of exactly how you think bull riding makes you a better version of yourself.
I wouldn't say it's the bull riding that makes me a better version of myself, but I get to meet new people, and I get to travel all over the world and talk to new people, and just being in that competitive sport. Like, I've always been in competitive sports. I wrestled throughout high school, and I've always been competitive in rodeo and bareback riding and bull riding, and I love that competitive aspect. And but it's a real humbling sport. Just won the world. Then last week I had surgery on my groin. I've been struggling to make rides happen earlier this year, and I just had to take a step back and say, okay, something's not right in my body, instead of keep pushing forward. And so every now and then, it's a really humbling sport for sure, and I'm thankful to be a part of
it. Yeah, I think you kind of opened my eyes to a different perspective of kind of being on the top, and now obviously we look at you, you're still on the top, but you're talking about going through an injury, takes you out for 6-8 weeks or whatever that may be. The mental aspect of that, just daily grind of trying to get back, and you mentioned that you have to tell yourself. I'm sure it's in you, no matter the pain you're feeling. I'm sure it's in you to try to keep going. But when say Tandy Freeman or somebody said, hey, you need to take a step back, that's the humility part of it. I guess you were saying, And I think it's true for all of us in life. There's, whether it's cattle business, ranching, whatever anybody does, I think they come to a point in their life where they have to take a step back and go, all right, I need to refocus here. Maybe something's happened in their life that's been a challenge. Maybe it's their job, their marriage, or whatever it may be, where the humility part of life starts hitting them.
Oh yeah.
I would like to interject, and Daylon and I met for the first time this morning. Been a pleasure. And what's your age, Daylon?
You're 23.
Daylon's 23, and my sons are 33 and 37. So just kind of been around here this morning, kind of like one of my sons,
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. But the thing that I would like to say is kind of off of what Cameron said, is that, you know, another thing too, if you don't know, Daylon is a Christian, and so hear and see you speak of the Lord and give testimony on behalf of the Lord's blessings and goodness in your life, and your mother is your family. I know she has a reputation of that as well, and so appreciate that as well. And so in the normal progress of life for us, God allows and maybe even orchestrates sometime events not for the purpose necessarily of our physical well-being or our you know, what we do for a living, but for our building up our maturity, you know, in Him. And so that's kind of what you're speaking maybe of, Cameron, and not in a roundabout way, but it's one thing that bonds us together today is our, you know, our Savior bonds us together. And so we have that brotherly bond that comes from that, and we understand these things. And so don't seem hurt or harmed when you have to be patient to wait on our goals to happen, you know. And you seem to be a very humble and patient guy, and a guy maybe could handle those circumstances maybe better so than some, you know. And maybe that's why you were world champion, I don't know. But I know it takes that for all of us, like Cameron said, not just a champion bull rider. You're going to get hurt. You know, I don't like that part of it, but you are, and kind of what you're down now for a little time. But just saying that if we stay within, you know, the right mental attitude that comes from our Savior, then we can be patient and wait on the good things that are coming. You know, so.
You know, I think the saying in bull riding is it's not if, but when, you know, talking about injuries and getting hurt. I mean, I think it's true for just life. Like, you know, it's not if you're going to hit a challenge or a storm, it's kind of when, right?
Yeah.
I think we see that in the Bible too. It's pretty evident, but I mean, I obviously don't know how to encourage a world champion bull rider because I've never done bull riding or even, I mean, we love watching it, and that's why, you know, obviously we reached out to you because we're huge fans. We love it, love watching it. I wouldn't say we love riding it because we never have, but I don't know, we rode some steers back when we were younger, but they weren't.
Rode enough to know it probably wasn't for us.
wasn't our calling, you know. It's our call to cheer you on.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, if but when, you know, I assume, you know, what age were you when you decided this? I want to ride bulls. Like, kind of when did that first?
You know, it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I started riding sheep and calves and just kept working my way up. And, you know, I'd wrestle in the wintertime growing up in New York just because it was too cold to really ride. Like, we couldn't really go out and get on in the snow and stuff. Or even if it was 20 degrees, it was pretty cold to get on a bull outside. Yeah. And, but one week before, like between wrestling tournaments, big wrestling tournaments, we went to a rodeo, got hurt, was supposed to go to the state tournament. And so this is just something I've always loved to do. And just because it had, like, just like you're talking about setbacks, and like that setback kind of bummed me out for going to that state tournament and wrestling, but there was a big picture that opened up, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bigger than maybe you even imagined, right? I mean, I think you, I just think that's a great story, and I think, you know, something Dad said was maybe that's. And it's nothing opposed to anybody else, but I mean, gosh, what would you say it takes to become a world champion bull rider? I mean,
you know, for me, just in 2022, the year I won it, you know, it was a lot of ups and downs, and like they were big and up, you know, and when I got stepped on in Tulsa or Oklahoma City or wherever it was in the head, you know, that accident could have been really bad, but God kept me safe because He had a plan for me that year and that time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even hurt at all, really. You know, I had a concussion, but other than that, like, I was walking around and good. And so it's just, looking back, it's kind of crazy how high and how low it went, you know, and it all worked out.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing? I mean, any world championship is amazing, and because this is kind of the sport we like to be entertained by.
Yeah.
You know, not just entertained by, but I mean, you can kind of get into it because these are kind of, most people have a agricultural background that wind up in here, and we got some common ground, you know, with bull riders even.
Yeah.
And as farmers or ranchers, but you know, the thing is that some guys win several of them, and my gosh, how do they do that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's because, I mean, you know what, I'm sure what you'd have loved to have done would have been just piggyback right off that last great ride you had.
Yeah.
And the next one was great, the next one was greater, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know.
I really think that's, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's the hardest part with life sometimes. We have a good crop or a good ride or whatever it may be, or a good cow herd, and next year for us, well, we may have a drought.
Yeah.
I mean, we had it this year, and then so it would be easy to get discouraged and kind of say, oh man, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to do because, you know, I'm failing right now or whatever, and to kind of go through those emotions, you know.
Yeah.
I think everybody can attest to that, you know. But I was reading a verse this morning, 1 Thessalonians 5:24. It says, "He who calls you is faithful, and He will do it." And I was thinking about that, like, you know, I think about even your championship, your world championship in 2022. Obviously, a lot of work. I mean, not taking anything away because it's a daily effort. I mean, so a ton of amount of work that you do that we would never even know behind the scenes that happens. But it's also, I think, also as a Christian, especially where you look and go, like you say, hey, God just for some reason had His hand on Daylon Swearingen and helps you attain that world championship. I mean, again, not taking away from the work it has, but I think that's awesome to know that you've followed Christ, and man, he allowed you to be a part of that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But I know there's those that, hey, they do the same thing, and sometimes they don't make it. They don't win a world championship. And I think that's where we get discouraged in life. Is like, man, I worked hard too. Why didn't I get it? You know.
Yeah.
But that's, to me, it comes down. That's where the faith part comes in. You know, it's to stay. And I think that's why I wanted to ask you that question. Is you're 1 or 2 when you win it. A lot of guys never win it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, statistically, most will never win it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, most bull riders or wannabe bull riders never get to be bull riders.
yeah,
For one thing, you know, so you've really been blessed or smiled upon, or at least God is allowing it.
Yeah.
You know, and then I mean, yes, you've got your own ability and talent, but try and all those things, and
I
but
think
kind of what do you know? I know you got goals. You probably saying, well, maybe in the bull riding world, everyone wants to break Donnie Gay's 8-time world champion record.
Yeah.
But can you be content with 1 or 2? You know, I mean, that's a great feat. You know?
Yeah. I'm not really wanting to be, I don't like the word, like, I don't like being content kind of where I'm at. I always want to be growing. And it's just like anything, you just keep growing. Like, want to grow. Like, this time, I'll take this time and I'll grow in my relationship with God. And then just keep working on myself, and that will bring me back stronger than I've been when I left.
Yeah, you're correct in that. I think I can see you as a good ambassador for the PBR or whatever.
Yeah.
A good ambassador, more importantly, for the Lord.
Yes.
And so I appreciate that about you. And there's a lot of different people and a lot of all kind of occupations, but in the day that we live, we need ambassadors for the Lord in whatever area we're living in, whatever we do for a living.
We do want to encourage you. I know you already know this probably more than we do, but we do want to encourage you while you're hurt. We think the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
And I know you believe that too, because you're still going after it. But
Yeah.
to kind of get out of the PBR real quick, and then we'll try to wrap up. But I know your life is a lot about PBR.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about that. But after meeting you, talking to you a few times on the phone, coming to your ranch, you're just a regular guy, and I think that's awesome. You have a ranch. I think that's what you want to do after, maybe after your PBR career, and so I think that's just cool. How I think a lot of times we see these athletes, they're our heroes too, of course,
Yeah.
to a certain extent, but we don't get to see the real Daylon, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate you letting us see that.
Yeah.
Ranching is there's some humility built in that too,
Oh, yeah.
as you know. But so what do you want to? I guess what do you want to see after your PBR career? What's your goal there? Your dreams in that?
Yeah. I'd like to just have a family and bring them up kind of how I was brought up, like in the ranching world, maybe raising some bucking bulls and commercial cows, or just something like that.
Yeah. Can't beat the country lifestyle,
Oh yeah.
So growing up in New York, how's that? I assume you grew up in the countryside of New York, but how different is it from Texas?
I would say it's a lot. It's a lot of the same kind of similarities. There's a lot of things different, but I wasn't looking for different. I was looking. You can look at something and say, look at the different sides, or you can look at the similar sides. And like we're out in the country up there, we're big agriculture, big dairies. The speed limits are a lot slower, but there's a lot. I just like being down here just because I like the weather down here a little bit better than the cold.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So wrapping up here, I think probably two more questions. What's been your biggest challenge? I'd say your entire life, and that you've seen, just when you look back, and you see, wow, I've made it here. Like you say, not that you're content to stay here, but when you look back in your life, what's been the biggest challenge you think you might have had?
I wouldn't say, I'm not really sure the biggest challenge. I've had so many people that have helped me, put me in the right situations, and God's helped me to put me in the right situations where I haven't had to quite struggle, and my grandparents helped me, and my mom, and my dad, and just everybody, there's always been a door that's open for me, like coming to school in Carthage, and then living here now, and everything kind of just led into one thing after the other. I would say when I was younger, like I thought New York, I thought I was a good bull rider in New York, go to the junior high finals, and didn't do good at all. And so it didn't, in the Western culture, New York isn't really related in that. But it doesn't really matter where you're from or anything like that. You can come from anything. You work for it and you can become anything. And I would say that was getting that set in my mind that I can become whoever I was. It doesn't matter if I'm from New York, Alaska, doesn't matter where you're from. If you want something, you work for it, and you're gonna get it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So if there's to our viewers, man, I apologize. We forgot to mention you went to college at Panola, just down the road.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool story. No, you did great there, and that was a big step into your PBR career.
Oh yeah.
So
By the way, Panola has a good reputation for rodeo school, right?
Yeah.
And the training that you get there and the opportunities you get there, I've heard that from several people. And right here in our back door is a great little rodeo college.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like they, Jeff Collins is the coach there, a world champion bareback rider, and every Monday night, like we'd go to the church and they had a meal for us and then the word, and so it was just a really, like that's definitely where I was supposed to be going to school.
Right. I can tell you I'm 62 and you're 23, that, the fact about doors opening and opportunities coming and which ones you're supposed to take, which ones are you not, and all those things, that goes on your entire life. And so even at 62 years old, sometimes you find yourself same thing, and there's just a lot more events in life or happenings in life that maybe a 62-year-old has to use as reference than a 23-year-old. But you got the right mindset, and the mindset is look for the things that the Lord is giving you opportunity for, and that is a big key, for success. And I know, not every athlete that's successful is a believer, is a Christian. However, they're also not good ambassadors for the Lord as well. So you have that opportunity.
Yes.
So last question here, and then we'll let Dad kind of wrap it up. What would you say to our viewers you've been at the top, now you're going through an injury where you can't even go compete. What would you say to someone who's not necessarily just wanting to be in the Western sports world, but trying to do anything with their life, and they found themselves just up and down, and the mental challenge, right? Of just waking up and trying again.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
I would just say just keep moving forward, and it's, God's always got a plan in the near future. Something might, you never know what God's putting you through is to help you build for something that you can then use and flourish in that.
Yeah.
In that line.
Awesome, man. Well, man, we really appreciate you sharing the time with us this morning, Daylon. Dad, you got?
Yeah, I was thinking about how Paul instructs us as the church, and he really makes a effort to have us encourage one another, pray for one another, and we can't see each other every day, but we can do those things. We can be an encourager, and so not just for you, Daylon, as a fellow believer and brother, but Paul instructs us to do pray specifically for the ones that you know. So we will do that for you, and you'll be in our prayers, and not only will we watch you on TV, but we'll watch for what the Lord is doing in your life as well. And I think that Paul tells us that. He said, Paul's speaking to a church here in 2 Thessalonians 13, he said, we're bound to give thanks to God always for you, brethren beloved by the Lord, because God from the beginning chose you for salvation through sanctification by the Spirit and belief in the truth, to which he called you by our gospel for the obtaining of the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. So Paul's explaining the call of God for salvation. That's where we are. We're people that have salvation. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or whether by our letter. Now may our Lord Jesus Christ himself and our God and Father, who has loved us and given us everlasting consolation and good hope by grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every good word and work. So Paul is concluding a letter to the church with those words of encouragement, and that's what we're to do as believers to one another. So just appreciate you being here, appreciate the opportunity to be around you and with you, and we like to encourage you, and we will a covenant to pray for you and your family and your future, and God's will be done in your life.
Daylon, appreciate you, buddy. We know you've already won one, but we believe the best is yet to come in your life, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, guys.